Well, it's a Saturday morning and we're down at the Villa Marina for a packed session of Travelwatch. I have to say, with me, Tony Liddiard, aviation spokesperson, and obviously the hot potato today is massive, isn't it? I mean,
it looks like it. We haven't had attendance like that for some time.
I mean, the dust is slightly settling now on that shock news yesterday, but have you got any more bits you can put to us? I mean, are they going to pull out? We're talking about FlyBe. Are they going to pull out, for instance?
Well, we know they're going to close the base. They haven't yet made an announcement regarding the routes remaining after they finish at Gatwick on the end of March. Hopeful that they'll still be operating using aircraft based in the UK and crews based in the UK, which brings its own disbenefits, but we hope the island won't lose the routes.
I mean, you've been banging on for a long time about the whole situation, that there was going to be trouble ahead. Did you see this? Because I know you've already said that 4 was the minimum aircraft to make a base anyway under their new things.
Yeah.
They're 3, they're going to go down to 2. And this is not just here, the Isle of Man, but Jersey, Guernsey, other places.
Yes, they have obviously decided that as an airline they're going to consolidate into 4 or 5 major bases. So 7, I think, airport bases are going to be closed. But that doesn't mean to say flying is going to stop to these places, but there is a real concern. And of course here, basically there's 50 people suddenly made redundant. And these people have been operating here. A lot of them joined the early Manx Airlines in 1980. And it's a lot of skills, a lot of experience, which will be lost forever to the island, unfortunately.
I mean, where's it going as far as you're concerned? What level of service do you imagine is going to be here in a year's time?
Well, it's extremely concerning. I mean, we've lost all our services to Scotland. We've lost 4 dimes a day services to Gatwick. British Airways pulled out of London City, or reduced from 3 services a day to 1, although we're very hopeful that they might be persuaded to come back. Now that they've seen the situation at Gatwick next summer, I think they'll find there's an opportunity, so we're hopeful about that. And we've lost other services as well. So it's just a concern, and even if British Airways do come back, the situation is still not stable. The Isle of Man government take no real interest or no involvement in which airlines operate where and to how often and so forth. In quite contrast to places like Guernsey, who have their own airline to operate a majority of services.
Although that's controversy in itself down there with what they're doing, it's because they've got closed skies, haven't they?
No, they haven't.
They're not letting people in unless they get permission from the government, right?
Well, yes, but closed skies isn't necessarily the opposite to open skies. Okay. What they're doing is having a very light regulation, and over here we see basically any airline can operate as long as, first of all, you're satisfied that it's safe and financially stable. Secondly, that is going to provide an acceptable standard of service, including fares and frequency, and that's important. And thirdly, really that the operation would be good for the Isle of Man. Mm-hmm. And as long as they fill those requirements, everybody's welcome.
Okay, but back to Guernsey, the government owns the airline, right? You accept that? And you don't see that being a potential here as an option? To the government actually buy an airline?
At the moment, it seems the most desirable option because, normally I think everyone would say the last thing you want is government involvement in something like this. But when you see the situation in Guernsey now, they had the same problem with FlyBe, shock withdrawal of their 5 or 6 services a day to Gatwick, and they're sailing along without a problem. They've now invested in a much bigger brand new jet aircraft, 120-seater, increased frequencies, laughing.
But at the same time, EasyJet wanted to fly into Guernsey, and they're now not going to because they looked at it, they don't like the idea of it. I mean, you've got to accept that at the end of the day, market forces do play a major part, don't they, in how an airline would operate their system. They don't want to be told what to do.
Okay, so go back to, do you remember the days of Manx Line against competing with Steam Packet? What happened? Both went bust, basically, because the market's just not big enough. Open skies is great in a large environment that can support it. But when you're trying to keep basic essential services, you cannot have totally open skies.
Well, Anne Reynolds is in there listening to this. You also made probably this announcement you're going to talk to the Chief Minister or try to put some points to him?
No, we said that we will wait to see what happens on certain things like Scottish routes, which we expect to come back fairly shortly, and the London City route, which we hope. But if these things don't materialise, we're in a really serious situation, and it may be that urgent action is taken by the government, and then we would seek to discuss this with the Chief Minister.
I mean, there is still an Isle of Man-based airline, Citywing. I mean, it's small, but it's there. Do you think that there's any reasonable possibility they can pick up on this one? I
mentioned them specifically because they do, although not an airline as such, they do actually fill a very valuable niche. I believe it, and I might be slightly updated, the move from a 19-seat aircraft up to the larger type is a quantum leap in terms of operation, financial responsibilities and so forth. But it is a possibility. It could be a launch pad for something, an airline that can do it, yes.
Well, as I said, it's a packed meeting. I mean, I think it's going to touch everyone, isn't it? I think everyone's just thinking about, I mean, from I know talking to hoteliers yesterday, they're immediately jumping on the thoughts of how are my guests going to make it here next year? And the knock-on effects could be huge, right? That's
the danger. And of course, a large part of the population would think the biggest priority is low fares at any cost. Mm-hmm. But then we've got to look on, we're a passenger organisation, fares are important to us, but also the availability of travel. And that's what's really worrying us. The opportunities are getting fewer and fewer, and I cannot understand how we can accept a situation where the only carrier on a major route suddenly says, we're not going to fly here on Saturdays in the peak of the summer months. And that's when you say government has got to have some involvement. Of
course, everyone looks back now with great fondness on Manx Airlines. I mean, your days. I mean,
that's nostalgia.
I'm running some shots of the old planes because everyone loves them. But seriously, at the time, it wasn't a cheap option. I remember going to London on a day return. It was like £350. This is 15 odd years ago, whatever time it was.
But remember, flying into Heathrow was expensive, and we realised that. But so one of the first things we did was introduce a competitive service to Luton. We're competing with ourselves. Yeah. And we did that for many, many years at £69 return to give the cheaper option to the South East. So you are conscious of responsibilities in those ways.
So, in a year's time, where or what will be left, do you think?
I wish I knew. I mean, sadly, I believe there won't be any skilled pilots or engineers here. And it makes it very difficult to ever start it up again. I don't know. Let's hope that some sort of sense prevails, because it's going to become critical, not immediately, but when we see the effect on the businesses, and a number of companies are seriously considering, here on the island, not only talk about ones which may be attracted here, but companies here on the island are beginning to question their future if they don't have a reliable and regular link to London.
And any chance you fancy picking up the gauntlet one more time?
Certainly not. I'm over 70 now. It was hard work at the age of 40 when I started first time. But there's lots of skills on the island. There's people who could do it.
But if anyone should be a consultant, surely you know exactly how it works over here, right?
I might be able to do a little help. I'm worried about consultancy because it's a fast-moving industry. You can get out of date very quickly, people change. But I'd always be willing to give any help I could.